Picture this. You're sitting across from a potential retail partner, sharing your vision for your brand. You've poured your heart into this moment, but a small voice inside asks, is my product what they want? Will they see the potential that I see? If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. I often say that brand founders have to have confidence and a little bit of delusion because you're going to face challenge after challenge, and you're going to hear no a lot more than yes. You need confidence and grit to get out of the valleys of building a business. You need a balance between knowing what's true to you and knowing when to take advice from others. If you want to hear more about that, stay tuned, because that's what we're going to talk about today. As of the published date of this episode, I am an associate of Ulta Beauty. The ideas and thoughts represented here are my own and not that of my employer. Welcome to the Scaling Emerging Beauty Podcast, a show that provides actionable insights for early-stage beauty brands looking to scale at retail. I'm Monique Benoit, the host of the show, a former retail buyer, and I've spent years working with retailers and brands to help products hit major shelves across retailers at really big stores in the US. For today's solo episode, I'm going to share some tips on balancing confidence with accepting advice. Let's start having a conversation about confidence by defining confidence in the entrepreneurial context. Confidence is showing your vision, owning your unique value, and staying committed despite the challenges. As I talk a little bit about building confidence, I'm actually taken back to a time when I was on the sales side representing a brand and trying to sell that brand into a major retailer. And as I just shared about confidence, it's about tying in that vision and being able to share that vision with others so that they too can believe it. But this was a scenario where the vision that the brand had originally was not aligning with the desires of that said retailer. Namely, the retailer cared a lot about innovation and bringing new product to market. But at the time, the brand had deprioritized innovation because they had a number of other internal challenges happening. They missed their numbers, and so when brands miss their numbers, they have to pull back the budget on things, and that meant innovation. But what that also meant was that the original goal of the brand and what they said was important to them when they pitched to that retailer was not what they were actually sharing with the retailer because they had pulled back on innovation. That brand at the time forgot about their why. They forgot about their core values. And these are the things that keep you true to yourself, even when trends or different opinions might sway you. Even if there's a time when you say, hey, we're not hitting our goals, but innovation is at our core, that's where you know you will be consistently aligned with the retailer. And so there was a misalignment. In the end, the retailer ended up walking away from the brand, but I think it gives a really good example of making sure that you're ready to be all in on whatever that goal and that vision is that you're sharing, that confidence that you have is something that you as a brand founder can follow through on. That's why your why and your values are so important and critical. They'll end up making a really big impact in a variety of ways. If you're wondering, what are some ways for me to understand what my why is, or what are those things that I shouldn't falter on when I think about approaching conversations with retailers or investors or new hires? Here are a couple of actionable tips. First, define your non-negotiables. Maybe it's specific to the ingredients that you decide to include in your products. Maybe it's specific to how you approach innovation or how you pull product together and the packaging and what it looks like. It needs to be fun. It needs to be tactile. Whatever it is, those non-negotiables need to be specific to you and your brand. For example, when I worked as a buyer at Anthropologie, a big part of my job was to develop product for our private label, but another part was to find product in the market that aligned with our customers' value and aesthetic and look and feel. And we knew very specifically when brands had products that were on brand and that were not on brand. These non-negotiables were very much understood by everyone who was on the merchant team. We knew what things were specific to that anthropology look and what things weren't. And so for you, you want to consider what those non-negotiables are so that you too can know without a shadow of a doubt that this is something that we want to stand behind, or no, this is something we might need to reconsider because it might not actually align with our brand. All of your decision, your product, your innovation, even who represents you for sales representation is going to be an extension of you and your brand. And you want to ensure that all of those things are aligned with your vision and how you lead. Now, as I'm talking about confidence, and as a brand founder, you know how important it is for you to have a lot of the answers, but you don't have all the answers, right? It's just such a conundrum, right? So confidence doesn't mean that you have all of the answers. It's about being secure enough to ask questions and learn when you don't know the answer to those questions. So here are some tips for filtering advice that you might receive so that you can assure that it's aligned with your value. First, check the relevance of the advice. Who is actually providing you with this advice? If that person and the advice that they're providing aligns with your brand's goals, that might be a good person for you to listen to. Avoid the trap of following trend or every opinion or every podcast that you listen to outside of this one here, obviously. No, but seriously, you want to ensure that you're being thoughtful about what advice you're taking in and what advice you're essentially not taking in. As I hear this advice that I'm providing, I'm thinking about a time when I worked at Target and I was working with one of my brands on a new product that we were bringing in. And I remember they presented the final product in their assortment. And as I saw it, I said to them, I don't think that this product or this packaging is aligned with everything else that you have. It was very picturesque, almost portrait-like, and the rest of their packaging was very abstract. It was very colorful, and it didn't feel like it belonged with the brand. And I shared that advice, and the brand took that advice. Now, this is an example where I was a retail buyer, I knew my category well, and I was truly invested in that brand's success. So I would like to think that it was a good idea for that brand to have taken my advice. Keep those things in mind, especially for you brands that are young. If you're partnering with retailers, they might have a decent amount of feedback for you. And I think it's actually quite wise to consider that feedback, especially if you're aligned with a retailer whose values match up with what's important to you. They're going to provide you with feedback that's going to allow you as a brand to grow. And it might not necessarily be exactly what you thought of, but I'm telling you, these retail buyers, they know their stuff and they know what's important to their consumer. So take that feedback to heart and consider that as you decide to go forward. All right, so I talked about the importance of confidence and ways for you to understand how to filter the advice so that you know that you're getting it from the right places. In the end, confidence has this fine balance between knowledge and knowing things and also a little bit of humility. And just remember, it's not either or, it's both. Confidence gives you the courage to lead and humility gives you the wisdom to grow. So in summary, consider this framework. First, reflect. Ask yourself, is this advice aligned with my values, with my brand's values, with my goals for the brand? Next, test out the advice. Ask yourself, can I implement this advice in a way that feels authentic to who I am and who my brand is? And then finally, adjust. If there's refinement that's needed, that's absolutely natural. Go ahead and make those tweaks as you learn and you test, and you continue to do what's best for your brand. Remember, confidence isn't about knowing everything. It's about trusting your instincts. It's about knowing yourself, but also staying open to growth. Know your vision, believe it, embrace the journey, and remember, You're building something amazing, one step at a time. If you made it to the end of this episode, I just want to say thank you for listening. If you found this helpful, I encourage you to share this with a friend or a colleague. Go ahead and leave us a review on Spotify podcasts or Apple Podcasts. It helps ensure others get to see the show. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. I appreciate you being here. Thank you as always for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.